Hey everybody, it is Jillian. So, I remember when I was a kid working as a volunteer at Valley Medical Center in San Jose, California. And I was, I was a volunteer, so I was a candy striper. But we didn't have the candy striper outfit. We had like a peach outfit that looked like a little tiny pinafore type of thing, and I had like little white shoes, and I would first work the downstairs in the information booth, and then eventually I was transferred to labor and delivery. And, well, not labor, actually postpartum. And then I was connected to labor and delivery and ICU postpartum, just gophering or transporting blood samples and different samples to different parts of the hospital. The lab, a lot of times it's the lab. And then also nuclear medicine. Well, actually, I don't know if I went to nuclear medicine, but I remember seeing at Valley Med in San Jose or Santa Clara, the Department of Nuclear Medicine. And I didn't really know what that was, but it's always stuck with me. Like, what, not really always stuck with me. I actually was looking up nuclear and medicine and something, and I was looking up something about gamma rays. I forget what triggered me to do that. And I looked at them like, oh my God, nuclear medicine. And so I figured out, once you understand what causes energy at the subatomic level and the atomic level, and you remember history like Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And so the macro level atomic energy is like a huge atom bomb, right? And then at the micro level, there's subatomic bombs when you would bring in positrons and electrons that give off light and heat. And then you have viral transducers that also have, electrons and positrons. And salt is ionic, and there's ways to detect energy that is being emitted from your organs based upon evolution. And then you look at the person's body and they're devolving. And so this is why nuclear medicine was invented, to squelch. First of all, they want to measure and scan the body to look for gamma rays, light. That's like my husband, he has an imaging on his fish finders. And so there's like a transducer on the boat, and it sends off all these different wave things that bring in an image that shows little fish as well as, weeds and all that stuff. So it's no different than when the medical system gives you some very fast acting radioactive material that's not harmful unless it's over a long period of time, that will detect gamma rays within your organs. So you can either swallow it or have it injected or something. And so then they can detect how much energy is being emitted in areas that you have pain in, okay? And so then I'm looking at the last couple days, and I remember how much I was sweating. And I know that I've been dealing with a virus that's inside of me that is sending off evolutionary energy. And those are symptoms as well. Symptoms are evolutionary energy. And so when you go from the macro to like something like Hiroshima, where yes, so much evolutionary energy, like the Big Bang, can start life and end life. So you have the Big Bang that starts life, and then you have the little bang, which is like the atomic bomb, which really isn't little, which ended life, but started then the Allies, and then Japan surrendered, and that was the end of World War II, was from that atom bomb. And so that's when, life and death can happen simultaneously. Life ends here and life begins here. And so this is the whole mitosis, meiosis thing happening simultaneously. So I had to figure out the order of operations when it comes to mitosis. You have to have meiosis first. But you don't have to keep doing meiosis all the time in order to get mitosis unless you want to. Okay, meiosis is when you have sexual reproduction. Mitosis is like asexual reproduction. It means that the cells keep splitting. And so it's nuclear, it's subatomic viral microbial nuclear fission that goes on. And so I knew that there had to be a way to explain this, but I know that in the medical world, it's not easily researchable to find this info. I have to get a thing for my phone where it's able to stand up. So I hope I'm not blocking any microphone, but anyways, I gotta have it stand up here. So anyway, so I was looking up how would I explain to a lay audience. First, you have to understand positrons, and that's the thing with nuclear imaging when you're looking for cancer, because cancer emits a lot of energy. Cancer is fast replicating cells, and there's high sodium nanoparticles in it. That's what emits the energy. That's ionization that emits energy. And when it's replicating that quickly, then scientists or imagers like nuclear medicine can go and do these scans and detect how much energy is being emitted from this one area. And so when they say, okay, you're in remission, they do another scan and you don't see as much light. You don't see as much of a projected image because light projects in an image when there's a detector that's looking for those specific gamma rays. Okay? And so I'm like, okay, how do you explain something like this? Because it's like there's so many pieces that are moving. But so anyway, so I figured out, well, first of all, what is nuclear medicine? Okay, so I did all that research, and it is defined as the application of radioactive tracers to medical diagnosis and treatment. And so this is how they're able to diagnose people with diseases, because disease is evolution. It's high energy, it's fast replication, and you're in pain, or you wouldn't be going and getting something imaged to figure out what's going on, right? Or you wouldn't be diagnosed. Okay? So first is like you're feeling pain, and people mischaracterize pain, and they think something to squelch, not feed. And so when you're trying to then squelch that energy, then you go to a doctor who has then these nuclear medicine imaging type things where they scan your body and look for the gamma rays that are emitting from parts of your body that you say are in pain. So what are radioactive tracers? They are made up of carrier molecules that are bonded tightly to a radioactive atom. These carrier molecules vary greatly depending on the purpose of the scan. Some tracers employ molecules that interact with specific proteins or sugars in the body and can even employ the patient's own cells. Okay? And then also, too, the radioactive tracers produce gamma rays or single photons that a gamma camera detects. So gamma cameras detect these single photons. Emissions come from different angles, and computer uses them to produce an image. The treating physician orders a CT scan that targets specific areas of the body like the neck or chest or specific organ like the thyroid. So people get their thyroid taken out because the thyroid is trying to evolve, and the person doesn't understand that, and so they think that something's wrong with them, and it obviously messes with their hormones, and so they get it taken out, or they have to, and then they are on thyroid medication for the rest of their freaking life. And so what types of radiation is gamma? They are sun particles. See, we're parts of the sun. We're energy. We're parts of the sun. We're star seeds, but we're trying to squelch our energy and only become one-dimensional if you believe that you should die someday. Be like a snapshot of the life that once was. Okay? And so then objects emit radiation when high energy electrons in a high atomic level fall down to lower energy levels. The energy lost is emitted as light or electromagnetic radiation. So that's what the sun is. It's electromagnetic radiation. And they produce gamma rays, okay? So when they meet, the positron and electron, which are antiparticles of each other, destroy themselves mutually, they annihilate. Two annihilation gamma with equal energy are also emitted back to back. Okay, so when you're looking at conception like meiosis, mitosis, it's not so much positrons. Those are protons and neutrons, or protons and electrons coming together to produce, it's a nuclear fission. And so, let me see something, hold on a second. Positron radioactivity. A proton, so difference between proton versus a positron, which I didn't even know. A proton is a subatomic particle having a positive electrical charge. A positron is also a positively charged subatomic particle the main difference between proton and positron is that the mass of a proton is is considerably higher, than it is of a positron. So protons have more weight than a positron. So positrons are subatomic particles that then, when you're dealing with electron, was it? Okay. When they meet, positron and electron are antiparticles and they destroy each other. Okay, got it. And so proton versus positron. Okay, so the proton is considerably higher than a positron. So is nuclear division mitosis or meiosis? This is my question to Google. Nuclear division occurs in both mitosis and meiosis. In mitosis, the result is a division of duplicated copies of genome into two. In meiosis, nuclear division occurs twice, dividing the original single nucleus into four nuclei that are genetically different from one another. So it's the difference between both is one just splits one time, the other one splits twice. Okay? And so splitting microbial atoms is cell division. Okay, so that's what goes on in your body when it's programmed by a virus that comes in and causes then nuclear reactions, and the nuclear reactions are then one programming overtaking another programming and then sending off the messages to then do either, annihilation or regeneration. Okay, and that stuff happens at the micro level that people are not really aware of, and they're misinterpreting the energy. And so instead of people understanding what's going on in their body, they go and pay somebody to annihilate their evolution, to annihilate their energy, so they can be then in this cured state on the decline. That's the aging process, is when your light is being extinguished little by little by the medical holistic energy healing world. Okay? And so nuclear division occurs in both mitosis and meiosis. Okay. And so meiosis happens first and then it's mitosis. And so you can bear a baby if you want, right? So as long as you bear a whole child, that's not going to be glitching on the way out, limbo glitching. And then you can maintain existence through mitosis indefinitely, that then works with the limited amount of resources that you have, which is like you have a certain amount of pixels. Okay, now let's jump into a computer world and say that your body is made of pixels, a certain amount of pixels that you retain and that you release on a daily basis. And it's going to fluctuate based upon the environment. And so yesterday, oh my God, I was so hungry. My dog yesterday had 2 seizures yesterday because it was the culmination of the viral energy that she's been feeling. All right. And I've been feeling the heat. She's been feeling very tired. She's been sleeping in like I've been sleeping in for the last couple of days. Today's the first day I actually woke up really early. But she had 2 seizures yesterday. And so then she was fine afterwards. And yes, she peed on the couch too, which, I was ready for it when I saw her going into that position. But I didn't catch all the pee, so that's okay. I still cleaned it up. But then I fed her the milk and the cereal to replace that energy that's being used by the viral transducers upgrading her body. Okay? And so she's going through her own metamorphosis. And I'm not trying to stop that energy, because that is evolution. You try to stop evolutionary energy, what happens then is you become very accustomed to stopping energy. And then what happens is then people get addicted and they stop the evolutionary process. Instead of feeding it, like I fed her, like myself too, pumpkin pie, the milk and the cereal, some of the lunch meat that I had, which has a lot of sodium and nitrates that she needs. And also her food that I mixed together with other leftovers from the other night. And so I feed that energy, and not always just like the sugar stuff. The sugar, you put in the J juice, it's good for someone that has a little bit of trouble processing food. So this is a good transition until they get onto solid food, and they can handle all that energy of digestion. And so I feed her now just when I know that she's going through this stuff, because it's been crazy with the heat, with the pestilence, with this virus that's run through me, it's ran through her, and you feed that energy, okay? And so she can continuously live if she is maintained by feeding the energy. So when she loses energy from viruses are trying to upgrade, you have to feed that viral programming to then recode. Okay, so you don't want to lose pixels. People who are aging are losing pixels. They're pixelated. You know, when you're so obese, yeah, it's very high resolution, and it's like I mean, maybe not the best analogy, but even when you have so many pixels where you're adding so much weight to your body in an environment that is dynamic and you're not losing that weight, then you also become pixelated, and then amorphous, you know, lacking structure, lacking definition. I mean, you see in this, if you see my camera now, like I'm looking at myself, it's very high resolution, but I'm also very defined, and there isn't stuff bleeding, you know, together. My other phone, it was a bit more amorphous and not as pixelated, because that's like, you know, the old Motorola phones where you try to do a camera and it's all pixelated. No, it's definitely a better resolution. But I think, yeah, when you are underweight, you're losing pixels. Actually, even when you're overweight, you still lose pixels, because you're losing definition, you're losing resolution. And so then it all has to do with the resolution in the environment. The environment must sustain your pixels, your image that you're projecting to the world. And so then you also look at the computer and your phone device, and is it upgraded to handle the pixels, the resolution, all that stuff. So everything is connected. And if you look at how computers and pictures and things are projected, it's no different than what goes on in the body. It's all electrical impulses, matter, acids, and gases. Okay? So image is the same thing with my body that it is what's being projected on a phone when I do a Facebook Live. So viruses, also as macrophages and macrophages, also collide with other viruses in the body, known as evolution. Then you feed it. However, if you get a therapeutic to stop the new evolution, cell division, aging happens fast or slow relative to the frequency of the environment. Okay? And so my neighbor stopped by for a second to just chat, and he's taking like this herbal stuff, right? And it has like dandelion root, it has it's called like C20 or something. And you know, he's still trying to figure out am I talking credibility here? I mean, it's hard to tell people that in a dynamic environment, evolution means you have to be sick. Now, you can achieve those cured states of equilibrium where you're at somewhat relative peace, equilibrium with the environment, and you're not feeling, you know, under the weather or feeling tired or feeling fatigued, same thing, or feeling sweaty or a sore throat or pain in different areas. And so that's hard to fathom. See, and this is the thing where it's so difficult. When people are that far, and I know some people are that far gone. No one's too far gone to be able to handle this, but they have to kind of recalibrate their expectations and set their life up to handle this. And some people are far gone because for them to regenerate and throw away everything they ever knew about health and wellness, it would be a very long, and it's a battle. It's a battle that, and I am almost sad because I know what I've had to deal with in trying to evolve and also keep up with the level of the environment. And it's not easy. You're going to have bloating, constipation. You got to get to know your body in more ways than you probably care to want to do. You know, you're going to have to deal with, you know, hemorrhoids potentially, different infections that you may use the J juice to kind of quell surface wise, but you don't want to use J juice so much to put you in a cured state, because when you're in a cured state, then they're saying like, oh yeah, people can live to be 130 years old and they look like the crypt keeper. Okay, how long can you look like the crypt keeper in a dynamic environment? Probably not too long. So when someone thinks that they could do J juice forever and eat food, Well, if you're not feeling sick and you're not releasing mucus and you're not coding, how long do you think you can be on J juice and eating food when the food isn't even coding your new DNA, because you're not actively taking on new evolution? And so then so the salt actually, over time, the J juice will deplete your substance, because you're not going to be hungry, you're not going to be coding, you're not releasing, you're just neutralizing everything. And so that's why J juice is so important to understand that in the beginning, it's a catalyst to evolution. It's adding energy to cells that have been asleep for years, okay? And so when you wake up those latent viral transducers, they're going to send off gamma rays. Those gamma rays are going to turn into symptoms. You're going to feel it. Then you'll be like, oh my God. And so when someone's so used to quelling symptoms, okay, if you've hardly ever been sick, that means you're not evolving. And so then what happens is then people contract autoimmune disorders, where the body attacks itself because somehow their immune system was so highly lopsided with antagonist antibodies attacking evolution that they weren't able to evolve. And then what happens then the pendulum swings the other way, okay? And there's not enough agonist antibodies to counteract the antagonist antibodies. And so then it's like the antagonist antibodies are now the most prominent. So when you weren't feeling anything as a child and even in your teenhood, and then all of a sudden your body's depleting, not all of a sudden, but your body's depleting, you're not retaining the energy, and those antagonist antibodies are still working against you. That's the autoimmune disorders, where the body attacks itself, and it also causes hormonal imbalances. And then also cancer is not too far behind, unless you catch it early and you squelch that evolution with chemotherapy or herbs or other stuff. But then guess what? You are still on the decline. You are still aging. And then who knows when, if you're going to wake up from a heart attack or a stroke, because you don't have enough adipose tissue, fatty tissue, you don't have enough infrastructure in your body to support the new viruses that are coming in, therapeuticized or not, or vectored or not. And so that's the main thing, is to understand that you have to feel symptoms. You can't go through this life being in a cured state, whether using J juice or using herbs or using chemotherapy. You must feel. And through every feeling of pain, you will have, if you're working on something, let's say you're working on a book about your life. Let's say you're studying a specific subject matter like law, or you're studying for a test, say insurance or something else that you're doing. Okay, and you're doing J juice at the same time, or not doing J juice, but you're feeling the pain of the new viruses. You're going to be in pain. You're going to have muscle spasm in areas that you're like, oh my God, this really hurts. But you'll deal with it. You'll close your eyes really hard and look at all the points of light. You'll have your dreams. You'll be dealing with the sweat, but you'll still get your stuff done. Maybe you have a migraine headache and it's just debilitating, so you eat some steak to help feed the brain, and then it stops. But you still, that you have to deal with all these things that go on. You're gonna just kind of be in a chill state, but then instead of being all active, you're gonna set your life up to where you're gonna be reading stuff, and then the connections get made faster. Your brain starts working clearer. But you have to give it the capacity to do that. The pain is the energy that gives you the energy to be more intelligent. The more you squelch the life out of your body, the less intelligent you become. The more that you're squelching life out of your body, the light dims and becomes dimmer, and then dimmer and dimmer. Okay, and then you'll be easily highly suggestible. You'll be easily influenced by triggers in the environment that were never resolved within you. And so the media, your friends, your family, all of your different groups then easily trigger you into activity that actually works against you. And so everything happens at the micro level, and it's all subatomic viral evolution, and there are little bombs that go off when you're bringing in new viruses, because you can't help but be in an environment where people are dropping their mucus RPGs full of viral transducers. They're going to cause mini explosions in your body, and your body's going to release. It's going to regenerate. You're going to feel the heat. Some people will have fever. Other people don't have fever. They just sweat. Okay? It's not menopause. Like people want to say, oh, she has the hot flashes. That's all viral energy. So what happens when a lady's at the end of her the end of her line as far as her uterus, and she has the night sweats. It's the body recalibrating and shutting down. Okay, now some women do trigger menopause in their 30s, which means that part of their body is shutting down. The uterus is shutting down. And so you can still live without a uterus. People do all the time. But it does not going to, it speaks that you're not going to be living longer than 100 years. If that, because your uterus is life, is what brings life. And when that's shut down, that speaks to everything else that's going to happen in the future for you. And so your ability to regenerate at the micro level will speak to regeneration at the macro level. And so the first sign of a person will have a lifespan is when they start taking organs out of their body, when they start going under operations, when they're redirecting stuff. And so that's the squelching and the dimming of intelligence and the dimming of life in humanity when they partake in the medical, holistic, energy healing world to suppress evolutionary energy. And so I call it viral microbial nuclear fission is what goes on when you're going through an evolution. And this COVID-19 is an evolution. The virus is nothing to fear. It's only something to fear on someone who is at a deficit that can't handle that nuclear fission at the microbial level. And so that's why I say, like, you know, when you do get exposed to a virus, like fireworks are like nuclear fissions at a different level, because there's different properties that are being ignited that release then color. That's all the image. That's the same thing as what goes on in your body. Okay, in a different form. I mean, the engine, what is it? The engine combustion is all nuclear energy. I mean, not literally like you, but there's little explosions. There's, you know, electrons and protons, and they're all kind of colliding with each other, and gas has that type of thing. I mean, I don't know. Should I say the combustion engine is nuclear energy? Let me see. Combustion engine, nuclear. Okay, so you need to have uranium, plutonium, but it's still the split. Let me see. Gas and ignition. Subatomic particles. All right, well, there's still little mini explosions, okay? Is the combustion engine? What is combustion? What is combustion? Okay, combustion is burning something. Fossil fuels, rapid chemical combination of substance with oxygen involving production of heat and light. And so that's kind of like a nuclear fission at the micro level. No, it's not using plutonium or uranium. Those are really high level stuff, but it's still a type of igniting heat and light with oxygen and chemical combination. So, and I could break all that down, but it's still, there's something being ignited, and it is done, you know, through the machinery in a car, okay? But that's still giving life to a car. Then you run on gas. The gas then eventually dissipates, and you put more gas in, just like the body. Your body runs on food, it's fuel, okay? You don't feed your body, you don't have then the light, right? So even though I may not have the right analogy with nuclear, because uranium, plutonium versus gas, the body needs fuel, and it needs to have fuel to burn. The car needs gas. The gas needs to be burned. If you don't have gas, you're running on fumes, and then you don't go anywhere. And that's what people do when they're not eating all the food in the food supply. They're depriving their body of the gas and the fuel it needs to then regenerate and evolve and adapt to these new viral transducers that are everywhere. You can't get away from them. And so you welcome the heat. Like, I welcome the feeling of the heat. I didn't feel as much I felt a little bit last night, but I didn't feel too much this morning. I was awake this morning. I just woke up like, oh my God, everything's great. Yesterday, I was sleeping until 9. So was my dog. Okay? And so I just go with it. There's no way for me to really know how my body's going to react to my environment. I just go with it, and I work around my body, which means that my life has to then be just as flexible. Some of you are strong like you, John Oakes, are strong that you can deal with all these things that go on, and you're still out there in the elements, pounding, your nails and stuff and constructing stuff, and you're still able to increase your intelligence by balancing out, understanding where I'm coming from, still maintain your life, raising your kids, taking care of your partner. So those are the things that you'll learn on the JJ mentality, that you can handle a lot of different facets of your life. Because the last couple of days, it's been crazy. I mean, with my dog having seizures like twice in a day, cleaning up, I did like 10 loads of laundry this last couple of days. I did like 5 loads. Well, I did like 3 loads yesterday. 2 loads, or like another 5 loads or so, like 8 loads, give or take. And then making sure that she's fed. And then with her flea stuff, because the pestilence is insane, which I guess I would take back. She's had a few fleas because it's hot out, and also with her going through the viral stuff, her body's releasing chemical stuff that attracts the pestilence. And so I'm giving her baths, picking the fleas off her, and then dusting her with a little bit of diatomaceous earth. She's fine. She's finally has some relief. And so, doing that and making dinner and making all these, and trying to clean the house a little bit and dealing with my own stuff and make sure that my husband's okay, because we have very, very, we have our own division of labor. So he mowed the lawn out there and took care of the outside, and he brings home the bacon, and the inside is relatively my domain. And so, balancing out the dog, myself, him, lunches, food, laundry, it's like you can handle. It's not horrible, but it's just that fact that you can handle all of your duties without dropping any of the balls. You can juggle a lot of stuff and still be evolving. Though in the beginning, for some of you, you're not going to be able to juggle as much as I'm going to juggle, because you still have to build up to that. And that's where it gets difficult. But our society, you're able to scale down. You don't have to have as many toys. You don't have to have as many things. That you don't have to go to all those, social occasions. Stay home. I'm telling you, with this thing with the Southwest Airlines, and people are out there picketing, about the mandates. If they only knew that salt would just, would render the mRNA neutral, but then they would have to feel the evolution. And so then, they take the salt, they do the mRNA vector, they do the salt to neutralize it, but then they're going to feel the evolution of the virus, because then the salt also wakes up the viruses that are in them that are latent. They're not prepared to do that. So there's no way to win out there with the pilots, Southwest, American Airlines, with these vaccine mandates. And so guess what? The customers are going to lose because they're going to be stranded, or they can't fly anywhere without wondering if they're going to make it home. The employees are going to lose. And guess who wins? The top executives of Southwest and all these other companies that are doing these mandates. I don't know why Delta isn't doing it. And Delta is very, very popular with Dr. Phil, because that's who Dr. Phil uses to fly all their people out, is through Delta. So I'm wondering if Delta has some kind of in where they can maintain and have the no mandates, but then what are exactly, how are they doing this stuff? So this is very interesting. And so I heard that Southwest got a bailout, from the government. So this is the thing, you guys going out there and picketing is not hurting the companies, really. They're prepared for this, or they wouldn't be doing these mandates. Knowing how people feel over the last 10 years of this activism against these vectors. And then you're going to say, okay, well, we know how you feel. So we know half the population is not going to do it. The other half is going to do it. When you have a split and then you mandate it, and then there's the nurses, there's the doctors, there's all the first line, the front defenders, we call it the first line responders. And they're being forced. Some are and some aren't. What do you think is going to happen? They know this is not freaking rocket science. And so this is the steady decline of the economy, and the weak people who are afraid of the vaccines and afraid of the virus, they're not going to make it. They're just not. And that's all by design. It's only the strong are going to survive this. The strong that will be able to stay home, stay safe, wear a mask if you need to, and curb your traveling spirit. Because if you're traveling all the time, you're not evolving, because you can't be symptomatic in a public environment, not in this world. And learn how to cultivate your brain and maybe redirect your profession and maybe get into something different. Okay? If you can't handle, if you are out there knowing that it's going to work against you. And so this is right now the tipping point. This is the moment of truth for many people to make a choice. Go out with a bang, okay, and supernova, or redirect your energy. Because no matter what, you're going to have to feel these. Because I'm telling you, even if you don't feel the heat from a new virus coming in, your body is going to produce, and it's going to trigger the immune system response activation sequence that is still going to use up energy that some people do not have. Okay, so that's why they say those that are vaccinated, wear a mask and stay home. Even the vaccinated need to wear a mask and stay home, because as soon as you go out there in public with a bunch of people, then your body is going to still produce antibodies to stop that evolution. And that's where the breakthrough infections happen. Because the body is still responding by producing antagonist antibodies that are programmed to go after the COVID-19 algorithms. And so a smart person, regardless of vax or unvaxxed, just stay home, stay safe, work on your brain, buy a computer, okay? And figure out how to transition. If you're in the public out there and you really can't handle it and you have a lot of issues and you need to transition, figure out a way to how to work from home. Or yeah, you can get vaccinated, of course, because that's part of your job. You do the JJs to neutralize it, and then you got to feel the heat. And then stay home when you're evolving it. You might be staying home a lot. And, you'll tell your boss, hey, this is my reaction. Well, they're going to be like, are you going to go to the doctor and get some kind of treatment? No, you're going to stay home and deal with it. You can still go to the doctor and get a diagnosis, and they'll give you all the recommendations. Doesn't mean you have to take them. But do whatever you got to do. If you don't want to feel if you don't feel you can handle it, then do whatever they say. But the food supply is what supports you in all these different aggressive symptoms. Relative to, regardless of where you are, beginning of the J-juice, because you're going to feel the headaches, you're going to get the respiratory side of it. You might be doing some J-juice in the beginning with the respiratory to help, break up some of the mucus and bring it out, and help energize your body to bring it out and do some waterfalls in the beginning, because people have been using JJ in reaction to COVID. I'm not saying that's what you should do all the time, but in the beginning, when people are dealing with new viruses in the environment, food supply, and then do whatever your doctor says if you're not sure. But this is going to mean right now people who have been on the JJ mentality still have predispositions, and even the last 4 years, like Christina Morris, she still has predispositions, but she's also dealing with the current COVID stuff. She's feeling the heat. She's feeling all this stuff. And so, you'll be dealing with all your past issues and present issues and then future issues, which are issues that you didn't even know you had until they come to surface. And you're like, oh, shit, I have that. Okay. And so that's going to be a lot for those that are not prepared to deal with that. And so JJ has been a welcome addition for those that are out there in the public, vectored or not, because it does put them in a cured state, but that will not last long, not in this environment. So you cannot depend on JJ to be in a cured state, no different than a vector or any of the therapeutics of taking out organs, okay? Because eventually the amount of sodium chloride over a long period of time when you're drinking it in reaction to your symptoms are going to work against you. Again, the crypt keeper. you will lose fat, you will lose substance, you will lose intelligence. Because too much light on the subject would be like an atomic bomb that annihilates. Okay? And we don't want that either. It's all about balance. So I wonder how many algorithms I tripped up by talking about different things. We'll see. All right, I'm going to go, but I just wanted to talk about the nuclear fission and viral microbial nuclear fission. And positron is less weight. I got to remember. Positron has less weight. I read that one wrong. All right, I'm going to go. Talk to you guys later. Bye.